In the name of the divine mothers that have walked the earth before us, that have held our hands, and that have given us wisdom, we call upon that sacred line of truth tellers today, the wisdom keepers, the oracles, and the ones who have not been forgotten. May today what is spoken be clear. May what is heard allow activation. And may what we revere be received in love, fire, and divine resistance. Today, just dear sisters, our podcast is not the same like our Earth Mothers series has been. Unfortunately, we have to jump back into our alarming and more, ever so much changing world. This is just a small break from the rhythm from our podcast, a single flare from the spirit realm, piercing the fog of misfortune, colonization, and the slow creep of modern spiritual warfare disguised as governance. Sisters, welcome to my podcast. And they lied. I am your high priestess, Shannon. Let's get into it. Okay, sisters. That I am glad to be back with you, to be able to deliver these messages. Um, Today is April 29th, 2025. And again, we are shaken to our core by a series today of executive orders. And they were a series of executive orders that were quietly signed in order not to alarm. To some, it may be seen as a benign or just administrative update. But the real seers, the sensitives, the priestesses, the root workers, all of us in the magical world, and those of us that walk with the ancient memories, the truth is becoming deafening. These orders are not to isolate us. They are a part of a long and calculated energetic pattern, one that many of us have seen in dreams, in visions, downloads, and the burning truth that is in our bones, that we all feel that there is something coming. So I want to speak on that today with depth, with fire, and with precision. So in this first bit, let's talk about the executive orders that were signed today and what they are. There are three key executive orders that were signed this morning into law. The first being that English language be a federal requirement for all commercial drivers. This order demands fluent efficiency in English for all commercial drivers, especially targeting immigrant and Hispanic communities with the B1 and B2 licenses. It's a gatekeeper tool. It's a legal muzzle. The use of language as our own indigenous language as a weapon So those of us that have studied colonialism, you know, when they take your tongue, they take your power. So the second one is identifying and listing sanctuary cities. The executive order requires all federal and state authorities to now publicly name sanctuary cities that limit cooperation with the federal immigration raids, with the illegal deportation of people out of our country to countries that are not their home origin. Essentially, it's a digital witch hunt. Like if you have witch wounds, you know that this is a witch hunt. This is what this is. They're pinpointing safety zones in order to dismantle them, to shame them, and to cut them off from the federal resources when honestly, a majority of them are here in California. So those two are pretty shocking. But it's this last one that he signed that is deafening to my spirit as the big confirmation. And I kept saying it was March 29th, and I wonder if maybe I had misread the March for April because we were in April. Maybe I was assuming, or that we were in March at that time because I had only seen the number 29. So today is for April 29th. And today he signed an executive order that will do away with any protections for the public against law enforcement overreach. He also expanded the police and military equipment access. So now all these cities and these municipalities can now access full 100% military grade gear without questions. They are also going to start reinforcing state level dominance over people. In 90 days, they want to put military boots on the ground in our cities. So what is this really? This is the door to a soft martial law. Through militarizing our streets, normalizing suppression, and legally justifying the intimidation. This is going to be the beginning of the chaos that we've all been seeing. Yesterday, Pam Bundy decided to allow or to inform Americans that if you put on your social media, fuck Donald Trump, you should receive 15 years in prison for disobedience. And she is going to try people on that. And so a lot of us have had a lot of sacred ceremonies, a lot of near-death incidents in the last 2 years, 3 years most, like my heart attack. And we were all kind of given these glimpses into timelines. Some of us have carried these visions throughout our entire lives. They were haunting nightmares as we were children, and have slowly crept their way up to becoming the true and vivid reality that we face today. I was given that glimpse too when I had my heart attack. I visited the and walked through the Hall of Records, the Akashic Records. I seen I've seen what is, and what's coming. And this is why I really try to stay away from the time, date, all that, because you get the flash. I got the 29. On March 29th, we had the big earthquake. So I naturally assumed, oh, that's it. But I kept seeing the 29 and the 20th, and it just kept going. It hasn't stopped. So when you talk about military on civilian streets, you have to look at the historical aspects of it to understand the timeline and the time period. Our textbooks make it seem like Hitler was put into power. The next day it was internment camps. The next day the war was over. When in actuality it was 5, 6 years. Like they didn't storm the streets overnight. They rolled in slowly and methodically as helpers to help protect from the invading population. They called in for emergencies or order to civil societies. This is how they vibrate on fear. And it gets seeded into each of us. So after all that vibrational fear is instilled, the next step that they really try to work on is erasing your native tongue or languages. Um, First, it happens methodically as well. They start with a dialect, and then your ancestral song, then your oral traditions, then it's full on spiritual warfare. And language is really not 100% spell work. That's energy, right? English is a system of control, not culture. What I speak today is pure colonialism forced into my comprehension from a very small child. And I look back on all of the programming that American children are forced into to keep the control. And when you look back, you see it all clearly. The other aspect of this that history has shown us is that the religious depictions, and I'm hearing it all over. Oh my gosh, am I hearing it all over? Friends of different backgrounds, cultures, heritages, spiritual practices, and spiritual religions are all telling me the same thing, that they're starting to see this happen. And the first real like good account of this is going to be the Bible, right? It's filled with all of our spells, all of our root work, all of our incantations. We have spells to bind in the Holy Bible. We have spells that confuse in the Holy Bible. We have spells that control the masses. I mean, look at the label that they place on women as if she is the root of all evil because she took a bite of that or got Adam to take a bite of that apple. So, one of the things you have to keep in mind is that there's something hidden beneath all of those hymns and verses. And this is theft. They took our gods, they demonized them, and sold them back to us wrapped in fear. And I think that a lot of that has to do with why we are now seeing the Earth Mothers rise, why we are seeing the masses amount of feminine divine arising, taking their place. And so we see this rise of the Earth Mothers, and now we see that there's going to be a war versus the empires. We are in a great clash. Empire versus Earth, power versus spirit, control versus communion. The Earth Mothers are returning, and it's not just as nurturing womb spirits, but like as fierce as Kali, coming in with all of her rage. We see them coming in as warriors, storm bringers, liberators, and record keepers. These executive orders, these executive orders, they're a direct assault on the Earth Mother energy. They are designed to separate human from one another through language. They suppress movement and trade, disconnecting communities. This is what we see today with the tariff issue we have going on. And I'm not going to be the fearmonger, but I'm going to tell you straight up, I live out here on the West Coast, and we got containers coming in that are empty. They pulling open the doors of these container cargo trailers, and there's nothing in them. They're empty. They're bare ass empty. So with that, it's going to start affecting our food supply. We see in this executive order, he's giving them a 90-day mandate to have this all set up, ready to go. And you have to ask yourself why. Why would he say, okay, 90 days? Because in 90 days, we are about to run out of our food supply. We are about to run out of our essential products for life, like we did in COVID. This is what it is. It means that when I, or that I, this is what it means when I say that they are suppressing our movement and our trade. Our movement is being suppressed by the amount of control tactics that they are using at border entry points, canceling visas, scaring our immigrant community with these god-awful commercials day in, day out, hour by hour, with a woman who is known to have shot her own dog in a gravel pit because she didn't know how to take the time to train her dog not to leave the property and go and attack chickens. They're forcing us to become disconnected from our own community. by turning over this hotline. Turn in an immigrant today. Y- you have memos going out throughout the government that specifically states to turn in anyone who is non-Christian to the supervisors. They militarize the people's streets and then threaten any type of grassroots resistance. And that is what they did with the sanctuary state kill list. I know I'm going to call it a kill list because that's what they want to do. They want to come into our sanctuary cities and try to kill our community so that they could threaten all of us that are grassroots resistors. They want right now, with that order, they wanted and have been given the ability to strike sanctuary cities. First, financially, then give the police the opportunity to have these uncontrolled guidelines to go into people's homes and to rip people from their families. And then if we sue them for it, they have a mandate that the Justice Department will make it go away. Do you understand, guys, what that means? And this is the rise of the Earth Mothers. The Earth Mothers can't be legislated. They cannot be deported. They live in the soil, in our blood, in our womb, in our blood, DNA memories, and in the voices of those of us that have become awakened. Make no mistake, sisters and brothers, if you're out there listening. These laws are disproportionately to impact Hispanic, Black, Indigenous, migrant, and spiritual communities. This is not about the trucker. This is not about the immigration. This is about erasing the carriers of ancestral knowledge. It is no coincidence that most connected to the earth, to the land-based spiritual practices, are the ones that are starting to see the targeting. Their bank accounts being frozen, them being accused of certain heinous crimes against this Christian country. You see these churches lining up at our spiritual shops, our metaphysical shops, our botanicas, trying to intimidate us into believing their beliefs. Our temples are the mountains. Our altars are the rivers. Our medicine is ancient. And honestly, they fear what we remember. So, what can we do spiritually and practically? This is no time to be passive. So, this is a time to have our energetic armor upgrades, wearing our charms, speaking your gratitude out loud, bringing your voice, speaking your own prayers out loud, calling on your deities daily, making sure you're staying connected with your grounding herbs, either in burning or smudging or simmer pots, making sure you're focusing on herbs like rosemary, rue, cedar, sweetgrass, copal. This next one is the biggest one that you can do, and I'm trying to work on that one myself, and that is to protect your language. Speak your native tongue, teach it, chant in it. Remember, each indigenous word spoken out loud is the spell that procures colonial control. Procures, pierces colonial control. So we again have to call upon the Earth Mothers in this moment. Nahusag, Nahusag, Ninhursag, the Sumerian Earth Mother of the mountains and soil, the mother of gods and kings. She teaches us how to transmute our trauma into stone building temples from our wounds. So you can maybe invoke her in clay, make a beautiful clay figure of what you would see that represents an Earth Mother. Offer her your grief. For me, it's the Zemi, and I last year made a 3-pointed semi. And I talk to that. I offer my grief to that. And I ask for guidance if I'm heavy. And I usually get a clear answer. Okay. Again, using this type of deity, you know that she is not there to comfort us, but she is here to be ready with you. Another thing that you can do is more tangible and in the now and in the physical is to know your rights, know their moves. Don't be a fool. Please go and on the US whitehouse.gov or website. It's disgusting, I know. But once you scroll past his ugly mugshot, you will see a space that says executive orders. Read the executive orders yourself. There's so much hidden in there. So much hidden. Let me read you one piece of what was hidden in the beautiful executive order. Da, 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 da. Section 4, under National Security Asset for Law and Order. Within 90 days of this order, the United States Attorney General and the Secretary of Defense, in consultation consultation with the Secretary of Homeland Security and heads of the agencies as appropriate, shall increase the provisions of excess military and national security assets in local jurisdictions to assess state and local law enforcement. Why the hell would they need militarized help in our communities? We do not have that type of chaos in this country. We do not have that kind of invasion, as they say, in this country. So why would they write that unless this is a soft martial law? So to know your rights is important. Know what their moves are. Again, read those executive orders yourself. Know that the language that they are using is a mask for their intention, like I just read. And don't be afraid and in literally pushed into a corner where you don't try to build a community resistance to this that is based on wisdom and clarity, not just rage. Because when we allow rage to come in, we make rash decisions and we need to be very calculated right now. We only have about 90 days left. We need to be very strategic. And ladies, if you haven't built your to-go bag as a spiritualist, this is my last few warnings. Please go back and listen to one of my first podcasts. I don't remember which one it was, but I have been talking about it incessantly. Make sure you have a to-go bag with all of your documentation. Grab a single tarot or oracle deck. Grab your divination tools that you use and rely on the most and keep them in a place where you can grab them on the go. If there's a book that you hold sacred, a book of spells, a grimoire, keep it close so you can toss it in that bag too. This is not a joke. I wish I was here just running my mouth like Joe Rogan or any of the other podcasters that are out there. What I'm telling you guys as a spiritualist, as a practicing witch, as a practicing devotee of my deities, this is serious. Life as we know it will not be the same in 90 days. The next thing you can do is to know the language that they are using to mask their intent by reading that executive order. Again, there are words in there that will shake you to the core, like the fact that they want to imprison people who are a part of immigration and um, spiritual programs that help people. Making sure, again, you're building your resistance with wisdom and clarity, not rage. Stay informed, stay up to date, ground yourself in because this is going to get chaotic. If it hasn't already been absolutely chaotic when you wake up every morning and go, oh God, what did he do today? So, one of the things that I wanted to close with is that you were born for this timeline. This is not happening to you. This is happening with you. And it's happening to those who dream in symbols. You who feel everything so deeply, it pains you physically. You who see the patterns in the chaos that are unfolding. You are the ones that they hoped would stay asleep, sisters and brothers, but you didn't. So what did you do? You rose. You put all of those shadows in the places they needed to be after you did the deep, dark work of transmutation. So you rise and you rise again. And this time the Earth Mothers are fully behind us. Our ancestors are standing by our side, and our voices can now be a wand to wield magic. So with that, I say, Ashe O, as above, so below, Beneshonez. May your guides always guide you on the path that is best for you. Our next episode, hopefully, we will resume with episode 29, the arrival of Ninhursag. Ninhursag. I'm not saying it right. Ninhursag. I'll get the pronunciation right one day. But until then, sisters, thank you so very much and blessed be.